Hey, fellow horror fans, welcome to the Fear Central radio show. I am your host, Mike, and joining me this week, I've got
Heather,
Katie,
Paul,
Chris,
and we have names again this week.
yeah.
And once again, 2019 has taken its vengeance on us.
yes,
So it's almost where we're like a show every other week right now because 2019 is so vicious.
terrible.
If Fear Central had insurance, it would be canceled.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
it
pretty
would
much.
be.
It's the evil stepsister of 2018.
Yeah, pretty much. But
just
this
saying.
week we are discussing makeup. And
favorite
effects
subject.
And
We're going to tell you how to get the best smoky eyes.
yes, we're going to do it on Paul too.
I'm sorry. There's already 5 minutes into this, and I got to kill somebody.
If we're gonna do a smoky eye, somebody needs to teach me how to do that.
Oh, it's easy.
I don't
You
know how to
know,
do
Yeah.
that.
we
We'll show you
pop
on
his
Paul.
eye out with a knife, and we hold it over
No.
a fire, and it smokes.
No, first you roll the marijuana.
Not that kind of show, honey.
Gotcha.
Yes. Gotta roll it. I just use a pipe.
Oh God.
Shove it right in there.
All right, makeup.
Yep.
All right. So the biggest debate, probably since the early to mid '90s, has always been
Dawn of
practical
time.
effects or computer generated effects, known as CGI.
Yes.
Okay. So throughout most of the '90s, CGI was the predominant, even if it didn't look quite right.
You mean Spawn.
Yeah. oh.
You're referring to the movie Spawn.
I like Spawn. It was all right. But at least Leguizamo's character was fine. He was practical.
I don't know that anything was fine about John Leguizamo in that movie. He was very animated.
He was.
He was the equivalent of car keys being thrown in front of your face. So
Isn't he
I liken it
always though?
to. Well, I liken it to
To an
Jim
extent.
Carrey in The Mask. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, if you throw in a lot more fart jokes.
Yes.
And cuss words and
Yeah. I'm hard edged and a clown.
I'm not the violator. I'm the killer. Whatever. Yeah.
Yep. Looking forward to that new Spawn movie.
Supposed to be more horror than action hero,
Well,
Eh.
yeah.
from what I've heard.
Yep.
But I was
Anyways.
looking, and the Los Angeles Film School has an article on CGI versus in-camera effects,
and what did they
based
say?
on an article that was done for something called Tested.
Okay. Yeah.
And in here they talk a lot about.
that's Adam Savage's program. Isn't
Oh,
it?
is it Tested?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. But they say that filmmakers are always having to wrestle with a difficult question about whether to use CGI, especially now that a wave of practical effects has witnessed a resurgence in Hollywood. And let's
Thank
see,
you,
this
Face
article
Off.
was.
Right.
Trying to see
Oh,
when this
by the
article
way,
was written.
bring it back.
Please.
I don't see a date for said article, but I'm sure it's recent. They're in an interview. They talked to Rick Baker. You may know his work from American Werewolf in London, Men in Black,
He
The Nutty
just says
Professor.
that. It makes it sound like it's just Rick Baker.
It
No,
is-
no, no, no,
it
no,
is
no,
just
no,
Rick
no,
Baker.
no.
Stan Winston.
Yes.
Those are the two.
Well,
You got Tom Savini.
Chris Savini,
Uh-huh.
and then you have Greg Nicotero.
Hey,
You have that
Nicotero and
top
Berger
10
and-
tiers, the Godfathers, so to speak.
We'll get back to Nicotero in this
And
discussion.
Neil is in there. She kind of slides in a spot.
You got Rob Bottin.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
We talk about his work a lot, and John Carpenter's The Thing.
And V. McNeil doing the horrifying
Yes.
Mrs. Doubtfire.
Well, she also did Beetlejuice and
I
did
know.
Lost Boys and Pirates of the Caribbean
And Hunger Games 2
Hunger
and 3 and
Games.
4.
Spider-Man.
I mean, her list is almost as well. Okay, not almost, but it's pretty damn long.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
But
You could ride by on the makeup effects done and makeup and special effects done on Beetlejuice alone for an entire career, probably.
Probably.
saying.
Especially considering how much of that was fly by seat of your pants whenever they're rewrites and everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she's self-taught, so I mean, she kind of kicks
but-
ass. She's that ultimate pioneer as far as okay. And I know
Women in the biz.
Yeah, women in the biz. She's that get in there with the boys club.
She's also like the aunt you always wanted.
Yes, she's very chill, very,
Yep.
And TV, make me Pinhead.
This is the part of the show where we're just promoting you to watch Face Off.
Yeah, pretty much.
and asking them to bring it back ever so slightly, Mr. Westmore.
But Rick Baker does
What
say,
is Glenn Hedrick up to?
We need to know.
Okay, we
is
all
he still
like
doing-
Glenn. Glenn's nice and all, but
She's still
I'm
doing
just
Lady
saying.
Gaga stuff since she pretty much doesn't do any of the makeup stuff anymore.
I don't know, but he owns Alchemy
Dude.
Effects.
It'd be really
So.
weird if Alchemy Effects did makeup on Star is Born.
Oh,
Yeah, that would be great,
well, you got to pay the light bill somehow.
right? But Rick Baker says CGI is an amazing tool, and it's only as good as the artist behind it.
Yes.
Same thing with makeup. I think if you have a very talented director and give him good tools to use, he'll make a good movie. If you have a crappy director and give him good tools, he'll still make a crappy movie.
Huh.
So
Okay.
what he's saying is really it's based on not
Whoever's
necessarily the
using it.
artist, but the person
Okay.
in the film, running the film. Because, I guess if I don't have the budget to get someone caliber like Rick Baker, but someone that can do good work, but I don't know how to make a movie right, that good practical effects or CGI, if done cheaply, still makes a crappy movie.
Okay.
It's about the team.
So let all right. Say you're watching an amateur horror movie or an independent horror movie.
Yeah.
You come across a practical effect that just doesn't work.
Right.
How much of the blame you think goes into the makeup artist, and how much do you think goes into the director?
I think publicly, it's a lot on the makeup artist.
Chris, your turn to answer the question.
I think it goes back.
I'm sitting next to somebody
I
I've
think it
worked
goes
with
back to the
before.
director because the
So
director has
let's-
the
let's
final
get that.
say in what it's going to be.
And you would think that.
And you would think that.
Of course, the editor also bears some responsibility.
Right.
Right.
Okay, in all honesty, if the effects, like we were working on the very first thing we ever shot together,
Yeah.
the blood was not mixed correctly. It was
A little
not,
too thick.
It was not thinned out, so it couldn't go through the tube. So
Okay.
I ended up, when I went to go hit the syringe, it popped off, and so grabbing it and blowing it worked, but it didn't have that effect it would if it had flowed a lot
Right.
Yeah.
easier. So it,
But-
you
but-
break it down, you set it up, keep going.
Right.
Unfortunately, as the makeup artist, I've been yelled at before. I've been screamed at before on things that had nothing to do with me. So I've,
I don't scream.
yes, you do. You just don't think you do.
Don't scream.
Yes, you do. And then I look at him and I go, "You're not my favorite
But
person.
since-
Take 5 seconds over there before you're ending up here, and I'm on an episode of Snapped."
But then, talking about that situation right there really leads credence to Savini from the original Friday the 13th,
Right.
with the Kevin Bacon scene, because there again, their tube
Same
popped
thing.
off, and his assistant grabbed the tube and blew in it, which is why you get that gurgle
Yeah,
on
with effects.
Kevin Bacon's kill.
Effects and filming, anything and everything can go wrong. It's like opening Pandora's box and just hoping everything goes right.
Right.
Bound enough, something's going to F up down the road, and you're just going to have to suck it up and move on.
But this also leads more into other genres than just horror. I believe, if I'm correct, Christopher Nolan is big in more practical in-camera effects
Yeah.
than CGI. And there's another one.
Well-
Abrams is kind of that way, isn't he? To an extent.
To an extent.
He loves to post-process his shots a lot.
He does.
Well,
but I think as far as the effects
Blumhouse.
for the shot, I think he likes to get as
Idris
much.
Elba was pretty CGI'd up.
Well, that's true.
Yeah.
In the last
In
that
the
one
last
Star
Star
Trek.
Trek.
Yeah. But then you look at some of his other stuff like Super 8. I think a lot of that was practical.
Yeah. And it was shot very well.
Yeah.
But again, you have to have a working relationship with your producers and directors, and even your lighting crew. I mean, you have to know where the lights are going to hit, if it's dark, if it's light, is it going to transition in post?
Yeah.
That was interesting to
I
see.
mean-
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead, Katie. I'm sorry.
It's a working relationship, and like anything, you have your good days and you have your bad days.
That was really interesting to see in whenever we watched Face Off, whenever they started doing where they worked with the directors in the
Right.
finale.
The last 2 or 3 seasons,
Right. And there was one of them where they had this monster, and the director wanted him white.
Yes.
And,
I remember that, yeah.
But he shot with a gray filter,
Right.
and it just screwed up
Yeah.
the makeup because
Yeah.
he didn't tell them that he
Right.
was shooting with a gray filter.
Directors aren't.
And-
You have to be ready for anything.
Right. And so it messed up the colors. And so whenever they went to shoot, like, it looked like crap by comparison to everything
which
else.
also falls on the director, because when they were doing the screen test prior to
he should have told him.
Yeah.
they should have had the filter on there when they were sitting there making their critiques
Right.
Yeah.
on how the makeup looks. If he'd have had that filter on there he was going to use, then the makeup artist would have known, oh, he's got this filter. I know I have to super bleach him out in order to get him just to look white.
But
Right.
as a makeup artist, it's also your responsibility. The first rules of makeup apply is that it
Blending is your
should be, well, aside from that, it should be good for up close shots, far away. It shouldn't matter if it's super bright, super dark. The makeup should read no matter what.
Right.
And if they were unsure of how it was going to look, you know, I'm not one to go, hey, can I take a peek in your camera real quick and look?
Right.
Yeah.
Glenn Hetrick even makes a comment about that in one of the episodes. He's like, we never do our makeup for just a one-time shot.
No.
Even if it's designed to be the one-time shot, we never stop there. We make it look like it's going to be used in a long shot.
Right.
Because then you're going to
Yeah.
put that quality into it. And
Right.
even if it is just, okay, we got a close-up, oh, we're done. Okay, that's that take.
And all this lends into the fact that, you know, even if you're the most ardent anti CGI person in the world, it's a lot easier to add CG post effects now.
Yes.
And
Yes.
it's like more available even to modest budgets and everything.
Honestly, you know, it's one of those things. Does CGI take over practical, and is practical fading out? And the answer is no.
It
It's
shouldn't.
not. It's a marriage of the two.
Yeah.
I think there are some things that you cannot do without CGI, and then there are a lot of things you cannot do without practical effects.
Yeah.
You can't get the level of acting in CGI.
Right.
You cannot get the actor's emotion in CGI.
Take somebody completely removing themselves and putting themselves into the scene if they're just acting completely against a green screen with no
Yeah.
one else there.
Sin City. It was
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
green screen.
Right.
There was no interaction with much.
Yeah.
No. Styrofoam balls.
In
Little
CGI's
wires.
This
in
styrofoam
CGI's
ball is my best friend.
defense, I guess, a little bit. When we turn to Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man, Stan Winston had created a suit for the first movie, but he found it very uncomfortable and couldn't articulate his
In
body
it.
movements
Yeah.
well enough
Right.
to
Yeah.
portray on screen in the suit. So that's when the director decided, let's try just putting him in a green
but
suit.
But
and-
going to that fact, some of the suit is actual practical effects, like
lot
the
of it
whole
is.
scene where the
Of course, you're
Can't
opening
think of
you're
it.
opening a
The-
massive can of worms here whenever you bring in Marvel movies with
I
all
know.
the de-aging that's been going on in the last 5 or 6.
yeah.
So the
Years.
scene where they are removing, anytime you see the scene where they're removing the chest piece, the basically his heart,
Yeah.
it is actual practical effects that it's done.
Yeah.
I
part
even
Pieces
think
built
that
out.
Backyard Effects did a breakdown of it a couple years ago, like
Yeah.
5 or 6 years ago. And so they showed you how it's done, and it actually is done that way. And I even have some pictures
Yeah.
that I won't tell you how I got it. But it's very interesting to see, okay, well, this is how they did it practical, and then they mirrored it. And they're still doing that with some of the practical effects.
Yeah.
It's just, you know.
You got to marry it to where the audience doesn't understand that there's a difference.
Right. Because there are tons of practical effects that people are like, oh, that's just bad CGI. Well, no, it's not. It's real.
Yeah.
It's in screen. It's on camera.
I'm sorry, but I was rewatching some of the movies from pretty much our younger years, like the Indiana Jones series and the Mummies, and I'm like, I got to that last Mummy, and I was like, oh my god, that's horrible
Scorpion King.
CGI. It was
Scorpion King,
horrible,
yeah.
and they should have never done it that way.
They should have let The Rock do that because it doesn't even look
Well,
like
that's
that.
actually the second one. Are you
Scorpion
talking about
King?
the third one or the second one?
The second
No, the
one is
Scorpion
where
King.
he enters the end.
Second
of it.
one's Mummy Returns.
And
So it's got
then-
the Scorpion King. Third
Correct.
one is the one with Jet Li.
And that was even
The
worse.
Terracotta
Yeah,
Warriors.
that was
That,
bad.
that was too worse. And I'm just like, I'm like, oh my god, this was in the infancy of this, and it still looks horrible. But yet,
Yeah.
when you take something like The Thing and the practical effects that were done way back in the 80s,
You want
like,
a movie
this
that's
still holds up.
unwatchable these days because of an over reliance on CG. Lost in Space.
No.
The new one?
No,
The old one?
the one with Matt
Matt
LeBlanc,
Yeah.
and William Hurt.
Yeah.
Man, that has aged for nothing. I watched it on Blu-ray because it was like only $5. I'm like, oh, I remember liking this.
Yeah.
oh
This-
no, I don't. I won't.
Oh, what is this? No.
Yeah, yeah.
No, I can do better than this in Photoshop at this
Yes,
point, I'm pretty
yeah.
sure.
Right.
It's bad. It's bad. Yeah, it's and I've been asked that too. I've been asked by people, well, what do you think is better, practical or CG? I'm like, both.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
one or the other.
I'm
So
an old school.
I hate to criticize because I know I've seen him do lots better than this, and we mentioned him as a good makeup effects artist. But Greg Nicotero, he did my least favorite practical effects, or at least he was the head designer over it.
Right.
Which one?
Hostel.
Oh, see, I didn't watch that.
I hated Hostel, so there's no love lost there.
Yeah, well, that was his. That was him on charge of all the effects on
I
that.
know.
Right.
But there's that scene where they have like the wheelbarrow full of body parts and stuff. Just like they flop
Okay,
around,
but
so fake.
You also
And it's
have
just
to
like-
think
That
about
could
it
have
like
been
this.
the director,
is
too.
that
that's right. I mean, that is
you
on
know,
Roth. But
when it comes to practical effects,
Yeah.
you're stuck with a budget, and you have to not only make sure you pay your people, but you have to break it down by
Yeah.
each
Yeah.
effect that it's done, and you have to do it as, and I hate to say this, as cheaply as possible, so that you can get the most the most of the practical effect and the most of the scene there. If you've got like 7 kills in one scene, or
I'm trying to remember
you
how
look
many.
at-
or like every 15 seconds, you got to come up with new and innovative ways to do things. So
There's a lot of severed body parts in that movie, but I only
Yeah.
remember 2 on-screen kills.
But in that same respect,
Yeah.
in the early days of KMB effects,
Yeah.
Nicotero was charged with doing all the cadavers for, I think, Grey's Anatomy.
which are still being used, like they're
That
used in Bones, they're used
Were
in
so realistic.
Yeah.
So I don't really think we can pull that all on.
No.
No, no, no,
and,
no, no,
and,
no,
I-
no.
and it looks good until they're in motion.
Okay, but
Okay.
The
see,
moment
that's-
they're in motion, and that might be that you can claim that's on Roth.
Yeah,
You
'cause
like
he could have
Roth,
went.
and I'm like,
They look really good, but I want that one to move.
yeah,
And,
or
and
he could
you're like,
say there's
okay.
not enough movement. I mean,
now they jiggle like Jello.
Yeah. It could lead down to we've got all these created. It took us 6 weeks to make all this, and now today you want it to move. Well, let me see what I can rig up in an hour.
and a lot of the times, artists, makeup artists in general, and even prop houses will go and they'll be like, okay, we need so many body parts of this, and they make them, and then the budget gets cut for whatever reason by directors or higher ups or whatever, and they go, no, we only give you this amount now, and they're like, well, we got all this shit. What the hell are we going to do with this crap?
Which was pretty much
So-
what happened with Wes Craven and Swamp Thing,
Yeah.
which you still haven't seen, have you?
I still haven't seen.
Oh, shame
man.
on you.
I nearly bought it on Blu-ray a while ago.
We should have. I'm not sure about this new one they're coming out with because it looks CGI.
The last shot I saw looked practical.
It's CGI.
I don't think it was.
Yes, the eyes.
Because if you look at
That's good CGI in the shot I
If
saw.
you look
then.
at the eyes,
Yeah.
I mean, the body coming out of the water is practical, but then the eyes are not. They're CGI.
even the water looked a little more CGI than.
Okay.
But again, stuff can be
there again.
added in post production with things. I
Yeah.
mean, hell, Star Wars did it all the freaking time. Every time they came out with the reissuing of it, they added more stormtroopers, or they changed things in there, or they they tweaked it a little stuff, or
all that digitizing he did in the re-release.
Take a look at Star Trek.
Return of the Jedi with his Pixar monster singing.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I like the Pixar monster singing.
Look at Star Wars. Okay,
I liked the song he had originally.
I did too.
Yeah. Sorry.
Look at Star Wars.
Do we have to?
And Star Trek.
Shut up.
A lot of Star Trek's origins started with practical effects.
Yeah, that's pretty much
The
all it was.
more they got into like the 90s and CGIing it, a lot more of the effects.
Not so much the characters.
Some of the characters were.
Very, very few, if any.
Very few.
I think it was mostly the distant shots.
The only
where
times you get CGI is whenever you're talking about like non-corporeal entities.
Yes.
And you're talking about like matter that they've like beamed in, or like energy that they've beamed in, and then it's just like interstellar stuff that they've gotten like force fields and like.
But as far as characters, Westmore pretty much did all that practical.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, I gotta say we're talking about that. That's like two worlds to me. Whenever you deal with Star Wars versus Star Trek and the remastering that went into it decades later, because they're very conservative with it in Star Trek.
Yes,
absolutely.
They're just blatant in Star Wars. I'm
Yeah,
sorry. I'm a Wars and a
the-
Trekkie girl. There's no separation. I mean, I love both of them, but let's be honest. They just blatantly add about a few dozen more.
When Paramount takes it and
there.
re-digitizes it and goes, that's all we're doing.
Yeah.
And Lucas goes, we're going to add a stormtrooper on a creature riding right there.
Lucas doesn't give a shit.
Right? That's why he sold to Disney.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that makes Darth
stopped-
Vader a princess.
He stopped caring after Howard the Duck.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well,
Disney bought Fox.
Yeah.
Now
I know.
Wait a minute. Now Klinger's a princess.
You know who else? You know who else?
That means he gets to go home finally.
I know, right?
Alien Queen's a princess.
Yes.
Tim Curry's a princess.
Yeah.
Yep.
Tim Curry's always been a princess.
Hell yeah, he has.
But I'm kind of an old schooler when it comes to creating my films. I believe the more I can put in camera, the better. But I am also not opposed to enhancement with the CGI. So
But there are definitely some things you cannot do with practical effects.
That's true.
Right.
Especially if it's like no. I don't mean like on actors. I mean like scenes, like scenery. Like you couldn't do the asteroid. The asteroid coming to Earth in Deep Impact.
Oh,
you
no.
couldn't do that without CGI. It just
not at all.
You just couldn't. Or Day After Tomorrow,
Yes.
where the waves come.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that you just can't. You just can't do.
But when it comes to your character-based makeup, like when he slips and breaks his leg or whatever in Day After Tomorrow, I'm not going to CGI that in. I'm going to get someone in there, make it, get it shot.
No.
Right.
Yeah, totally.
All right.
Honestly, I think what's killing CGI and practical effects is HD cameras. I'm sorry, but ever
Some
since
things
Red,
don't need to be in HD.
ever since
Some
Red got
things-
made, I'm just
But we're about
Red-
to get 8K cameras.
the Red camera just killed,
The
because you have to be so careful with your blending and your coloring and everything like that.
So the first time I realized that actors and actresses had to be very makeup teams and everything had to be so much more conscious of how things were going to look on camera once HD was like the over reliance. Enchanted.
Yeah.
Yes.
Of all things, Enchanted.
Yes.
It gets to the true love kiss scene, and they light her from the back, and I'm like, oh, Amy Adams has a mustache now.
yeah.
Yup.
Yeah, it's like, you're watching HD and you're like, oh, they went out to sun. Okay, and there's bug bites all over them, and we're not supposed to see that, but I see it.
Yeah.
And there again, that kind of relies on the cinematographer and the director on how long you're going to maintain that shot.
Yeah.
So if I'm going to do a really big close up on someone, I want to make sure that makeup is perfect, that there's no blemishes because of the amount of resolution that the cameras will produce today.
Yeah.
But if I'm going to shoot them from across the room, it doesn't have to be.
Well, there are certain things you can get away with. I mean, like Walking Dead, you have about maybe 5 or 6 hero zombies, and then the rest are kind of blended in the background, and you just kind of have them.
And for those of you that don't understand, a hero zombie is not a hero.
No.
It is a zombie that is done.
It's that one from Land of the Dead.
Yeah,
It's usually it's usually the one like
it's the one that gave you the
Dr.
close-ups
Tongue,
on,
or the one that had
the jaw
hanging off that was still moving. I mean, there are different things that make a hero makeup, or even like on your more predominant actors, if they're in the spotlight more, like, you know, in gunfights or something like that, they're going to have like little gashes, nothing too major, you know, because it would destroy their prettiness, so to speak.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
you know, one example that I have kept bringing up through our discussions prior to recording was in the movie Wrong Turn.
Yeah.
With Eliza Dushku. There's a scene where one of the people get killed by a saw blade next to a tree that goes like halfway into their head.
Is that Jeremy Sisto's death?
Was it?
I don't know.
I don't remember.
I know he didn't make it through that movie.
Yeah. No, it was a female, I think, that got that killed.
Oh, yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
But they did a majority of it CGI, especially after the saw blade, because they wanted the eyes to roll up and everything, and that would have taken, I guess, a lot more budget to rig up servo motors and all that into a head and all that.
Yeah.
So,
You would have had to create an animatronic piece on top of the saw blade. Through that.
They actually something. Well, it's not exactly similar, but in Grindhouse, there's a scene where it's the killer car or something like that, and it goes over the other one, and it takes off the top of the car.
Yeah, Death Proof.
Yeah, Death Proof.
And
with the main actress's face.
The face and
the
everything.
the tire going on
that
onto
was actually
her face.
a mirage of both effects.
Yeah, that
combined.
was a combination.
So
Really?
It was a lot
yes.
of a lot of practical with the face ripping off and stuff, and then Tarantino went back in and enhanced with extra blood.
That is a lot of painful shots.
Yeah.
Like repeated over.
Yeah, because it was actually a real fake leg that flew off. Out the window.
Her face was molded on
Poor
from
Jungle
like her,
Julia.
It was all shot green screen, so it was digital in that fact. But they had like
a real tire
and
a fake part of the
car,
body.
half of a car that they could bring the tire across and just get that real good close up shot.
That stands well. That's Nicotero too, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Dracula, that had some good ones. Some good practical effects.
The thing I think about whenever I deal with special effects is they're only like half of the reason I will watch a silent film these days is to see what they accomplished when they didn't have access to these CG pros effects.
Yeah.
Like F.W. Murnau, Georges Méliès, and Jacques Cocteau, who did Beauty and the Beast.
The original.
Like all that, their stuff is beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
Like watch Nosferatu, watch any of the shorts that they reference in Hugo or anything.
You know, even a lot of the Chaney stuff from that time period can still kind of hold up today because of he went to the extremes though to make sure his makeup
like fish hooks in the face,
tape on his eyes, and
but that was before we had even a third of what we have now. So I mean,
so let me ask Katie, as a fairly newcomer to the horror genre,
yes,
how blatant is it for you on some films when it comes to the difference in effects? Like if you can you really see how bad some of the CGI or even some of the
sometimes
practical?
yes.
Okay.
Sometimes very blatant.
What's a bad example?
she's like, "Oh, let me count the ways."
All right, let's use one that everybody's going to know.
Okay.
The most recent Stephen King's It. What's a good effect and what's a bad effect? because there's lots in there.
Bunny teeth?
yeah.
That's a bad effect.
Okay. Yeah. Teeth. Okay. So the floating
Okay.
really sucks.
All right. You're talking about when the
Around the
people were
the
floating.
people up, everything float because it's not just people up there.
Right.
It's like pieces of crap.
Yeah.
Floating above the carriage.
Right.
Yeah, because it's a circus carriage, and all that floating up there. That is just ugly looking.
Yeah.
It's stupid.
Okay.
It doesn't look right.
It doesn't make any sense if you've ever read the book.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't make
We're
a
talking
damn
about
bit of
effects. We're not
sense.
talking about plot.
It's
Okay.
still
Terrible
bad.
So that was a bad effect.
Okay.
The other one in that one is in the same kind of. It's not the same scene, but it's when he takes. It's just Beverly down there, and she's looking, and he like comes out of the carriage thing. That was an awful
Yeah,
effect.
it really was.
It was terrible.
You
know what I'm
can't
talking
touch
about?
that dancing though. That's beautiful.
That was great
Beautiful.
dancing,
It
yeah.
was wonderful. Okay.
What about all the scenes with the painting?
Painting,
The one that
painting was
Oh,
good.
yeah.
You
I
think
like
so?
the
Yeah.
painting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
What was not good was the leper that terrorized Eddie.
Oh God, that was
yeah,
awful.
the leper was awful.
If they would have done that practical instead of CGI, it would have made a world of difference.
But which way was it? Do we know?
I don't know.
I don't know.
It looked a little too
Really
polished.
You think so?
CGI.
Well, there's wasn't there like a bubble through like the nose cavity or something at some
Possibly.
point? I might be remembering that wrong. That might be Mandela effect.
Because I believe in Planet Terror, that was all practical with the bubble effects and the popping and the squishy and she can't watch that movie.
Well, that is some shaking.
Got a whole lot of shaking going on. Oh,
It was a marriage.
I guarantee you that Quinn's balls falling off was CG.
yeah, probably. Katie, you look very confused.
I'm trying to remember. I can't remember because I read the book since the last time I saw that movie.
Right.
So I
Well,
know
we get the
Eddie's
second
arm
part in
is
September. So
Yeah, well, I know Eddie's arm is broken in the movie, and I'm trying to remember if that happens on screen because that happens in the book and it's pretty
Right.
graphic in the book.
right.
And it doesn't happen on screen. Nope. Gosh, dang it.
Yeah, I didn't think it did.
Because that's a great because the way that happens in the book would have been a awesome
been
scene,
so much better.
and it would have been a prime way to use practical effects that would have been because it's a bad break.
Right.
It is a bad break when he breaks his arm.
Right.
So that would have been cool.
Did they do that?
It would
one
have been
in
nice
the
if they showed anything
90s
with
version?
Mike.
I didn't think so.
No, they don't show it in the 90s version either.
There's a lot of stuff from that's not represented in the book.
It would have been nice if we had learned
too.
anything about Mike.
Yeah.
Anything.
Anything?
Because Mike's stuff is all so stinking good.
Yeah.
In the book.
Really?
Yes. Have you not read the book?
I have not yet.
Oh my god. Mike's my favorite character.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. Most of Bev's stuff is good. The part, but there's a weird part when they're trying to do the CGI over her dad's eyes.
Yeah.
When her dad goes crazy on her. In
the new one.
in the new one. In the end, whenever she's in the house and he locks the door and says,
Right.
"Where you going, Bevy?"
The leper
So-
was a practical effect that they used CGI motion on.
Okay.
That's
That
why it was.
So it looked
explains a
so
lot.
weird.
That's why it looked weird.
That's why it's got the sheen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they made the dummy and they went, we're going to do all this other stuff in CG. We don't need any animatronics or any of that. Yeah.
No, I didn't claim it was CG, but
I thought it was CG.
it didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It did not
It didn't-
translate
You know,
well.
No, it
another
didn't.
one I think did a lot of CG, and it was the first Silent Hill.
Oh yeah.
I think there was more CG in it than practical,
Especially
especially in the second one.
I've watched some of the some making ofs or whatever. There's a little bit more practical in there than you think.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're like some of it didn't translate well, but there's a little bit more than you realize.
Well, like I know in the second one,
but
the mannequin monster was pretty much all CG.
God, I love the mannequin monster though.
I mean, when all hell breaks loose at the end of Silent Hill and the fire lets up or whatever, that's a lot of CG.
Yeah, and of course, all the most of the ash and all that is all CG, and the walls changing, and all that. I think a lot of the creature stuff was a lot of practical.
Yeah, there was
Pyramid Head.
No, actually, the screamers were almost entirely practical, if I remember right.
Oh, hello.
Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! Sorry.
Now, Heather, was that digital or was that live or was it Memorex?
That was CGI. Sorry.
All right. So, I know I always go for the nostalgia kick, but what's a makeup effect that people can remember, that anybody here can remember, like really affecting them, like growing up, or like the first of makeup effect that made you wince, like you went, oh.
My thing is always fingernails. Oh. So the one scene in Stir of Echoes,
crack,
where she goes down and the nail pops. Oh,
yeah. Whenever she's on the concrete floor. Yeah.
Anything with needles, any kind of being stabbed with a needle.
Is there some effect you remember?
Saw.
Okay.
The type of needles
when they throw it in there, because you know that they didn't jab her with that many needles.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just.
I'd say that's some dedication on the actress's part. Can't
pay me enough.
I can't remember. It was one of the Masters of Horror short films.
Okay.
I cannot remember the name of it, but it was set in an Oriental area, and they were putting needles through the fingernails.
It's the Miyake one.
Yeah.
Imprint.
Yes, that was it. Oh, that one got me.
Yep.
Okay.
What?
Oh my goodness.
Oh my goodness.
It's going to be a detective show.
Hold on.
When they turned him into little Ocutus, that was
no. Let's see. First. Okay. Well, I didn't watch a lot of movies growing up.
right.
Like, not very many at all.
I bet I got a movie I know that affected you.
Really?
Sinister.
Well, yeah, that was later, though. That wasn't until after I met Paul.
He said any times.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, really, though, the makeup effect that always sticks out as something that I still see in my dreams. Let's go with that.
Okay.
How's that?
Sure.
It's from Pan's Labyrinth.
Oh. Good movie.
It's the one at the table.
Yeah.
Oh, with the guy.
Yeah,
Yes.
that one.
I love that guy.
Yeah.
There's a great sideshow statue we could
No.
get.
Yeah, we should.
No.
Yeah, it'll be the set piece in our new home. We'll just have
No.
it right there in the entryway.
No. No, thank you.
Fiberglass shoe one, but
I say that stuff too, and she's like, no.
Nope.
that's not true.
I say stuff all the time, and you're like, no, we're not having that in the house.
So
Okay.
I'm like, let's go buy a Dybbuk box. She goes, no.
No. He wants the real Dybbuk box, which is there's no way in hell.
What's the point in having a replica?
If I can make a replica, that's fine. But no.
It's like I want to collect guns, but I want a replica 1922 Winchester. It's not the same thing.
You also want a Ouija board floor, but you want a Roomba, and we're going to come home to demons in our house.
I'm just going to see if I can summon Michael Jackson.
No. Why? So we can melt him down and let the children play with him?
Ooh.
Do you think the spirits are stronger than the Roomba? 'Cause I don't think so. But
I don't know, but I'm afraid to come home
you
and
think
it'd be
the
like...
Roomba is stronger than the spirits?
Yep. Pretty sure.
Well, all I know is
Technology
it sucks.
rules, man.
All right.
Those Roombas
Come
suck.
home, Crowley's hanging upside down. What the fuck?
Okay, so one that catches you in your dreams.
Yeah.
Pan Labyrinth.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Pan
that
Labyrinth.
one.
Yeah.
Mhm. But I do have issues with breaking bones.
Yeah.
So
Is it the sound or the sight?
it is the sound. It is not the sight. It is the sound. So That's why I can't do pop. I do not like it when people pop their fingers, crack their knuckles.
She says that after I
gross
say
me
that.
out.
Yeah, now that you've cracked your neck.
Right?
No.
Paul.
What about you, Paul? What lasted with you?
All right. Two things. Original Pet Cemetery.
Okay.
Gage burying that scalpel into Judd's Achilles tendon.
Yeah.
That was a bad one. Yeah.
That was that of all the things in that movie, that holds up pretty well.
That's his thing, though. Like the Achilles tendon,
Right.
any kind of like if someone gets hurt there, it's all over.
That, I think that started it.
Oh, really?
You
Like,
didn't
I
watch
was like,
Alexander then either, huh?
I have watched Alexander. I've also watched Troy.
And Troy.
Yep.
And 2.
The second one's weird. I watched the Evil Dead movies in reverse order.
Oh, so you started with Army of
I
Darkness.
started with
so
Army of
backwards.
Darkness. Then later, I found out that movie that creeped me out. I don't know why. The Evil Dead 2 cover always creeped me out.
The cover?
Yeah, just the cover with the skull and the eye, like
eyeballs,
looking through. Yeah. I guess I didn't ever paid attention that it says laughter on the on the cover.
I thought you were going to go with the whole laughing deer head.
But so what's weird is with that movie, the effects got better as I went backwards
Yes.
through the series.
Yeah.
Like I didn't think they were. I'm never going to say that any of them are bad. They're all fun to watch.
They're fun. But
Army of Darkness is Ray Harryhausen and all these like puppet effects and everything like that.
The
Nothing
Godfathers.
unnerving. Evil Dead 2, Henrietta is a little off-putting.
yeah.
The eyeballs not very effective flying
Yeah.
across the
Yeah.
into or
Well,
the
I think
Bobby
out of all
Joe's
of them, Evil
mouth.
Dead 2 was the most comical.
But Evil Dead, whenever it gets to the end, and what's his? Brad's from the second one. I can't remember the guy's name.
Right.
Whenever
His buddy.
Yeah, whenever he gets dismembered and all the body parts are flopping around on the floor, I got physically ill.
Did you?
I can't describe that. And I haven't seen the movie in forever, so I don't know if it'll still have this effect on me.
Right.
But that shot, the way they did it and the way it looks and everything, because of course I was watching on VHS back in the day and everything like that, so it all looked
It's dark and
dirty
green
and raw. And
Yeah.
it was just like nothing about it was realistic.
Yeah.
But I was like, oh.
Hey, that's like watching an original version of the Texas Chainsaw, and then you go to Netflix and watch the 4K cleaned up version. You're like, this doesn't look right. It's too clean.
I still have a VCR if anybody wants to watch a movie on a VCR.
I have a ton of VHS tapes, honey. I never got rid of them.
So you did Evil Dead kind of like Heather did Friday the 13th at one time.
And backwards.
Backwards. She's like, wow, Jason started out kind of old and got
He got
younger and
super
more powerful
young
as he got
super
younger.
young, and he just left.
Why?
Well, he summoned the cats.
Well, we had two people abandon the table, so we got a cat that's coming in to help.
We have two people that turned into two cats. How did that happen?
Yeah.
So we could probably say that your CGI is usually going to be more in, I don't know, like your superhero and sci-fi type films.
Mm-hmm.
As much as in horror, because horror probably doesn't use as much CGI.
Well,
depending on what the film is,
Yeah.
and the premise behind it.
well, especially in this like modern little mini renaissance we got thanks to Blumhouse and everything like that.
Yeah.
They're seeing the economical model, and they're like, they're not going to have a whole bank of like programmers and animators
Right.
available whenever your budget is that modest.
Right. Because a lot of your horror films are looking at, well, you look at the Blair Witch, their film was shot for $60,000.
Yeah.
And, I mean, that's not a lot if you wanted to put any CGI in it.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of some of the others. But you go back and you look at the original Hellraiser.
Mm-hmm.
That was all practical because it was in the mid-'80s, late
Yeah.
80s. And some of those shots, even today with the reverse photography and all, it stands up pretty well.
Yeah. But the only thing that really stands out in Hellraiser is obviously being after the fact is the lightning effects in the final act.
Yeah. Yeah.
One that stands out for me is the shower scene in It.
The shower scene in It.
The obvious like
The
claymation of him
Drain.
opening the drain.
Yeah. She still can't look at a drain in the bathroom.
Well, the giant spider was a practical effect, although there was an overlay.
It was a miniature, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think it was a miniature and probably at least a half scale whenever they got, because they had that really derpy looking face on it in that one shot.
That's true.
Cross-eyed spider monster.
But to lead credit to practical effects, there's the scene in the original Jurassic Park with the dying or the sick
The Triceratops.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And everybody got mad. They're like, no, that dinosaur's real. They're killing it.
it wasn't.
And that's a Stan Winston,
Yeah.
It was done so well that people freaked out thinking it was a real creature.
Yeah, years and years later.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have T-Rexes and
Yeah,
raptors and
that's the way that's the reason it took so long to make the movie. They had to wait for the science to catch up.
Well,
they had to grow a few 1,000 dinosaurs for the movie.
They were so busy worrying if they could. They never stopped to think if they should.
Best line ever, hands down.
Yeah. That movie in particular presents an interesting problem when it comes to how well an effect holds up.
Right. There are some of the CGI shots that don't.
Have you watched it on Blu-ray?
Yes.
Have we?
Yes.
I know we had the video.
It is not a movie like it still looks good. It looks fine, but there's a whole lot of noise in that movie.
And a blatant
and it
switches.
It pops things pop now.
Yeah.
They go, oh, that wasn't
and
there.
you see that a lot with the Blu-ray and the 4K renditions. As some of the older films, you're now just going, wait a minute.
Well, everybody said that about Lord of the Rings. Like whenever, because that was about the time that everybody was really getting into DVD.
Yeah.
That they watched Fellowship of the Ring, and then they could see like the kings as they were floating on the water were clearly added in and stuff like that.
Well, and stuff like 13 Ghosts. Quite a few of that was done practical, but then there are things like the sliding door with the body falling in half.
That was all CG.
There's no way.
Oh, the lawyer scene.
The lawyer scene. There's certain scenes that you just can't do practical. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's no way, but it works.
Now,
that was a big type of effect that they were really relied on with CG in that era.
Yeah,
because the first Resident Evil does that too. Yeah. It's got the little mesh shredding or whatever.
Yeah. It was a 90s thing. It was like, this is new. We're going to just use it.
But Cube has that too.
In everything.
In the opening. The very opening shot, I remember somebody got shredded. And I don't remember it looking nearly as CG.
I thought he exploded in the first shot. Like he stepped on something and exploded.
I'm trying to remember what they showed in the first opening shot of that. But I remember that's what happens.
Yeah. I thought he was exploded, like he stepped on something.
So what is so now I gotta ask, we've talked about your worst scenes, the ones that kind of stuck with you. What's your best scenes that you're just like, anytime somebody asks, well, what's the best practical effect you've seen?
We are completely moving away from fear.
Okay.
And this opens up a debate here on whether it's even worth it.
Okay.
But if you look at the making of Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, there's little to no CG in that movie.
Right.
And if you watch it, like, even though, like, if you've never seen that movie, you go, the weird drama with Jim Carrey and Kate Winslet or whatever, there's a lot of effects in that movie.
Yeah.
Because he keeps like going through time and like all, you know, in the mental things. There's a scene where he's tapping Elijah Wood on the shoulder and he keeps like whirling around. It's still the back of his head.
Right.
They did that in camera. Like there's a scene where Jim Carrey they did the old forced perspective thing whenever Jim Carrey is supposed to be like a kid in his pajamas or whatever, like under the table. They created this massive kitchen that like went, you know, 40 feet back or whatever.
Right. And there was a lot of that in Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
The whole forced perspective with the hobbits and
Also, not the best CGI.
we were just
Okay, so what one sticks out for you as the best practical effect?
Best practical effect. Ooh. Okay, so does it have to be in a movie?
No.
Okay, so there is some damn good practical effects going on Face Off. Mm-hmm. There are some rather beautiful aliens that go on that show, and that's specifically aliens, but they're a couple of they're specifically their monsters.
Yes, the horror ones,
amazing, and it's really hard to. I'm trying to remember which one. There's one in an early show that's kind of rough, but given more time, I cannot remember the guy's name. He didn't win the show. He was kind of short with blonde hair and a mohawk, and he did the teddy bear. Do you remember that?
Teddy made me do it.
Yes.
Oh, that was the first season.
That was the first season,
and that was.
I can't think of his name.
That's my favorite horror one out of all the seasons.
It is so good.
Specifically because V. Neil goes, if you win this, I hope you take that $100,000 to get some
therapy.
It's excellent.
Actually, I don't think it's V. I think it's Glenn that says that.
Was it Glenn? One of them say it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
There's also a baby doll in one of the later ones.
Oh, yes.
That is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Well, that one clearly got them work.
Yeah.
Because I looked it up. I was like, man, that looks so much like a porcelain doll from Devil's Carnival or whatever.
Right.
It was the person.
Yeah.
They got hired. They got hired to go work with the guy from that did Rebo.
Most of them, if they made it to the last 4 or 5 episodes, got work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I know Roy got a lot of work, especially as a fabricator.
Some of them will make you sad if you looked at their IMDb.
This
though.
is true.
Yeah.
It was like, what?
Tate just went crazy. I mean,
Tate's
he was
still doing
always
stuff.
he was always a favorite of the household.
Mm-hmm.
Who?
Tate.
I love Tate. I loved Graham.
We also met Matt Valentine.
Really?
Yeah.
And his brother Michael.
And then, what was her name? Nora.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember Nora.
Krista got to interview her one year
That's cool.
at Texas Frightmare Weekend.
She was
which is coming
sweet.
up soon.
And she was just amazing. And even she was like, it's not what you looks like. You guys, we break it down. But yeah, it's,
Oh, wait a minute. I don't know why I didn't say this. You were saying favorite practical effects.
Mm-hmm.
I built my entire love of this film based on practical effects.
Yes.
Gremlins.
Oh, yes. Yes.
yeah.
Like, you cannot convince me that you can show me the animatronics and I will not buy it.
Yeah.
Like,
Those are real.
Those are real.
Are you talking about the actual Gremlins or the Mogwai?
Both.
Neither.
Both.
They're animatronics.
I think the animatronics on the Mogwai was very good. I mean, you could almost believe that's a real creature.
They realized Gizmo very well for at least 70% of that movie.
Oh, yeah. It's a great...
Your favorite?
My favorite? Oh, my God. How many are there? I really enjoy the reverse practical effect of... on Hellraiser with Frank coming back into a person with the whole brain and then the skeletal and it just reverse photography. I really love that.
Yeah. And of course we mentioned Del Toro, but
yes.
Del Toro. go.
Yeah.
Especially some of his earlier works, like Kronos.
I gotta say,
Crimson Peak was beautiful.
yeah,
Oh, I love that
even
film.
even if you don't like the plot, man, that movie's
It
gorgeous.
is, and the soundtrack to it, or the score to it, is
Everything.
amazing.
Oh my
Yes.
gosh. Yeah, like I just love the way he realized those ghosts.
Yeah.
Like that was amazing. Like, oh my god.
I could say that I don't really care much for the film in itself, but The Well for Cureness.
A Cure for Wellness.
Cure for Well, I never get that right because it was such a bad film, but it was beautiful, and the score was amazing. But it was like 4 hours too long, right, Heather?
Heather's like, I'm just going to silently nod.
All right. So since you opened up that door, CG effect that I really appreciate for what it means within the movie.
Okay.
Shutter Island. The first scene with Leonardo DiCaprio and Michelle Williams, where he's talking to her, and they're kind of like foreshadowing everything that happened between her, and he hugs her from behind.
Right.
And she like starts getting sopping wet, and then she just turns to ash in his arms.
Right.
I'm like, what that means for the plot and the way it's realized
Yeah.
on screen. I'm like, I like that a lot.
And you want to talk about good practical effects? Inception. Almost the whole film is practical.
Yeah.
And yes.
Seriously?
Yes.
Yeah, it is.
The whole room spinning thing was done on a moving gimbal like they did in Nightmare on Elm Street.
Okay.
So they were literally running on the wall as it spun around.
Yeah.
Okay, but yet all the building folding stuff is not.
Well, no, I'm talking about the interaction
Well,
of the world.
There's stuff that's happening behind them as
Right.
they go,
Yeah.
and stuff that they're having to act on the spot.
Right.
That is like there are things crumbling amidst their scenes,
Right.
That obviously can't be.
Well, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm talking
Practical.
anything that they
So-
could interact with physically
Okay,
was done practical.
but it's still done on a green screen. Like you have
Well,
stuff,
not all of it.
but it's all on a green screen. Like
Anyway.
Yeah, we mentioned Nolan. We mentioned Nolan as someone who relies on practical, but he's a mixed bag. You get to Interstellar, and like some of that is gorgeous, and some of those effects are great.
Yes.
but then you get to the animatronic, like
The robots?
yes,
Yeah.
and it's like. Especially whenever they're getting rushed onto the shuttle by Michael or whatever his
Yeah, I
name
don't
is,
remember.
like, okay, that's kind of goofy looking.
Yeah. I'm sure some of that was practical, especially when they're on the ship and there's very little
It
movement.
might have been. It's just whenever
Someone with
you're
remote control.
dealing with a block with like just straight arms and legs, and they're
Yeah.
just going.
yeah, that was goofy looking.
It was. But then a credit to CGI was Arrival.
Oh yeah,
That was a beautiful movie.
that was a beautiful movie.
well, Blade Runner 2049.
2049. Yeah.
Yeah.
And some of that was practical.
And some of it was, yeah.
I actually saw a couple of guys that created a world like that in their own little short film that almost all of it was done with cardboard made stuff in their garage, and they would just sit in it and then green screen, and
Oh, yeah. I remember those guys.
I was like, that almost looks perfect.
They were trying to mimic the
Blade
whole
Runner, yeah.
Blade Runner. Yeah. It was actually very well done, and it took them quite a long time to do it, too.
Okay,
So, wait, hang on. So, Heather, your favorite CGI and your favorite practical? As her head
Wide-eyed.
explodes.
Look at that look. God, we need a
She's
camera
like,
for that one.
great. Thanks.
Scanners.
I don't know.
Heather's not with us tonight, so
All right,
she's just kind of here.
You want to set like a time limit for Katie on this, because this might be turning her loose, because I realize we haven't talked about we're talking about more than horror.
What?
Do you want to take a few minutes to talk about all
Harry
the
Potter?
Yes.
Yes! Let's do this. Okay, well, first we have to talk about the ceiling on the Great Hall.
Okay, yes.
It even looks good in the first movie.
Total CGI.
The most beautiful scene for that is whenever all of those candles are blown out whenever Dumbledore dies.
yes.
That's an excellent scene. And you can see the rafters for the first time
Yep.
in that one because the spell goes away. Because Dumbledore casts that first spell. You have that. You also have the fight in the clouds, which actually turns out pretty well. Because it just looks like a thunderstorm that looks kind of odd at first, and then Harry flies into the cloud, and suddenly there's all the Death Eaters, right?
Yeah.
That looks really good.
But Quidditch was real, right? He was actually on that broom.
Sure, honey.
Here.
Let's go with that.
Here.
Actually, he really was. They created
Green
a broom and he put
screened.
on it, and then this green screened him moving.
Everything.
Right.
So
It wasn't
Now-
the toy broom that just vibrated, was it?
No, honey.
no, it wasn't the
He
giant
was in a
vibrating
harness and on a practical effect prop.
Now, what are they? Why am I'm blanking on a name? I'm blanking on a name. What is McGonagall and Sirius and they're all anime guy?
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
Okay, none of the anime guy look good, and neither does Werewolf.
Anime.
Yeah.
I know. What
They
you're
are
talking
able to
Animated.
make themselves into animals.
They're the ones that
Oh.
can turn into the animals.
Yeah,
on
Sirius
at
Black
will.
turns into a big.
For tone and atmosphere, though, Azkaban is overall good.
Azkaban's the best.
Yeah.
Number one movie. Absolutely.
Well, then I would have to say the best CGI in that one was when Sirius comes up in the fire.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that one's that's
Made her
not in
stutter.
that one. That's
No, that
in
was-
Goblet.
Oh, okay.
That's in Goblet.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. That's the best way they did the fire. Absolutely, 100%. Because they did the
You got so
crappy.
excited you stuttered. I love it when she gets
I
excited.
know, right?
Well, the crappy way they do it is they do them where they just like flicker in the flames,
Yeah.
and it's so much better when they're like in the embers because that's how they
Yes.
talk about it being in the books.
Oh, okay.
So it's just better that way. So we have that. Then you also have the
Spiders.
what?
Spiders.
Spiders are pretty good.
Why do they have to be spiders?
But
Why
they're
couldn't we
kind of
follow the
vague,
butterflies?
which is because it's CGI, right?
I can tell you worst
And
creature
they're
effect.
really on there for like maybe 2 seconds.
Right.
I can
right.
tell you worst creature effect.
What?
Harry Potter?
Centaurs.
Yeah, that
centaurs
was
are.
pretty
They
bad.
are pretty bad.
That was horrible.
But I have seen pictures of the basilisk, and that is a practical effect.
That was great.
pictures.
It's wonderful, right? Have you seen the one of him getting a shower? It's awesome.
Yes, I have that one. I have that one where his mouth is open and they're like,
And
yes,
his eyes are closed,
yes,
like he's enjoying
like
it.
he's
It's
enjoying
wonderful.
it. Yes, and then there's another one later where it's not water, but it's actually KY jelly.
They're trying to make
Putting
it
in his
glisten.
mouth. And I'm like,
Favorite creature. My favorite creature is Buckbeak, which looks really good half the time.
Half the time.
Half the
About
time.
half the time. Yeah, so we get those. So the creatures can be good. That's why when we get to Fantastic Beasts,
Oh,
they
yes.
look pretty good.
they're like damn
They
good.
look pretty good.
The creature that I liked best was the Pestrels.
Thestrals.
Thestrals.
Thestrals, the ones you can only see if you've encountered death firsthand.
Right.
The ones who pull the
Yeah.
carts.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Yes.
And so none of the kids can see them except for Harry, who's
They're
encountered
like-
death
they're like-
firsthand.
Yeah, the
And
amazing,
Luna-
rotting
emaciated
horses.
death horses.
Right, exactly. They're intense.
I evidently didn't pay a whole lot of attention when I watched them.
Well, you should have. I mean, that
You need
that-
to read the book.
That one should have stood out to you. The emaciated death horses are the darkest looking creature in the whole thing.
I thought that was the Soul Stealer.
No, that's
The
No,
ones that
it-
kind of look like the 9 guys in Lord of the Rings.
Oh, that's those are the Dementors.
Yes.
But the Dementors those are also not the greatest effects a lot of the time. They get a little better towards the end whenever you're seeing them from the distance because they do look a little more creepy. But
favorite CGI is when they cast their
when they're, yes, oh yeah, that's great. That one's always really
I
good.
love it when they swish and flick.
Swish and flick.
Oh,
It's really fun.
practical effect that I really like.
Yes.
The mandrakes.
The mandrakes are great.
Okay.
Yeah, they're good.
They were little
I want to
animatronics.
make one.
They were animatronic.
I found
Yeah.
a how-to. So
Do you really want to make one?
yes.
All right, let's do it.
So what?
Yeah, sure. We can do that.
Would the best CGI effect be the chocolate frog?
No.
No, those are kind of weird.
I can get you chocolate frogs at Walmart.
No.
Nice. We should have some for the party.
We should,
And every
but
flavor beans and
you're giving it away, gentlemen and ladies.
Oh yeah.
yeah. So
What?
Yeah. So yeah.
practical effects, CGI.
Okay, so who is your all-time, hands down, favorite practical effects person?
What do you mean?
Like who would be your favorite artist if you could pick one?
Crap.
Would it be Rick Baker or V. Neal or Jon Hendrick or one of the guys?
Heather
on Face
says
Off
V.
I like V a lot. Del Toro does a lot of art himself, but he doesn't do the
doesn't do
actual
the effects,
effects.
no.
So
but
He's just like,
he
"Here's
works
my
with
art."
somebody a lot.
right.
Yes.
I'm
Yeah,
trying to
who's his
remember.
main artist?
There's they're actually in Mexico, I believe. Where
It
they did
wouldn't
Pan's
surprise me.
Labyrinth.
Yeah.
Because when I remember in the behind the scenes, they had to translate a lot of their interviews.
Yeah.
But his stuff is always beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every time.
Yes. He actually has an opening in the gallery now.
Really?
But he's he's got 2 or 3 different installations because of course if you can go to his house you get the cabinet of curiosities.
Right, but
Yeah.
I'm talking about it's in the museum. I just saw it on my Facebook.
Yeah, I know what you're referring
Yeah,
to.
and a
Yeah.
lot of the work from Pan's Labyrinth in it and some
Yep.
of the Hellboy stuff. And
Interesting.
So it's quite a bit. Actually, one of my favorite one that he does is the Angel of...
The one in Pan's
Hellboy
Labyrinth?
2.
Yeah, Hellboy 2.
No, it's in Hellboy 2, and it's the angel that has the eyeballs for the wings.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, that's what I was saying.
I don't know if it's the angel of death or the angel of time.
It would make sense if it's time.
I think it's time.
That's a timepiece.
I also,
right.
for Hellboy 2, I also really love the Tooth Fairies.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes!
Yeah.
They're like sort of adorable and creepy at the same time.
Yes.
I loved them. I actually wanted one. I was like, can I have one? I just wanted it as a pet. I know people. Look, it's my new pet. It's Tooth Fairy. Here, would you like to hold him?
I don't know if I could pick one
Yeah.
effects artist.
Who's your top 2?
Oh. I don't know if I could pick 2.
Huh?
Westmore.
Which one?
I really like Michael Westmore. Although he did not do the original Star Trek.
No.
Or
He was
somebody
a little
else.
too young for that. So.
Because someone had mentioned that his father did
Yes.
the original Star Trek, and
That's
it
not
wasn't
true.
him either.
No,
No.
it wasn't.
He
it was,
he did Next Generation on
Yeah.
up until the new movies.
Right.
Right.
I don't know, I really like a lot of Savini's work. Nicotero for a lot of stuff, especially when he worked with Romero.
Yeah.
A lot of his zombie stuff was really good.
We hadn't. I mean, I'll throw Rick Baker out there because we really hadn't talked about a lot about him or whatever.
I know, Rick
and
Baker.
like even if his entire career was based off that werewolf transformation from American Werewolf in London,
Yeah.
if you
That might be enough.
If you think of all the things he had to develop with all the bladders and the
And he
like
wasn't
all that,
the first one to do it.
yeah,
If I remember right, it was initially Rob Bottin, that was set to do that film,
Yeah.
and had developed it, but then went off to do the same effect in Howling.
But
then Rick
they're
Baker took
within
over.
2 years of each other.
Yeah, and then Rick Baker took over and made the effect what it was.
Howling, the effects are a little strange whenever it comes to like the way they develop the werewolf transformations,
Yeah.
though. Especially her.
Yeah.
Like her in the very end, she looks like some sort of Bashan.
Yeah. But then you look at Bottin's work and John Carpenter's The Thing, and it's just like, I saw something the other day where someone was bashing it on how bad it was. I'm like, that is not bad effects. I mean, that's downright
Go back to grade school.
great. Their point was the whole doctor scene when his chest opens up and
The chest burster.
pulls his arms off.
Yeah.
I mean, show that. I mean, just look at that picture and try not to wince, though.
I know.
Just like the like just the visceral nature of what that is.
Now, I mean, I can see where they may say it kind of could be a little comical because of the scene in itself.
It was
the
from
whole
the
chest
freaking
opening up
80s, people.
But as far as the work of the effects that went into it,
The most cartoonish thing in the entire movie to me
is the head.
No, it's when all the dogs are killed.
Oh, and all the
whenever it becomes a mass and it's got that
that's
dog, the furless dog head or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's still a striking image.
It's a very striking image.
Like the
especially
profile
when they
is
put
strong.
it into the last creature at the end. It's got Wilford Brimley and all the dogs and everybody else. And, I still really enjoy the practical effect of when he just puts the hot iron into the blood in the petri dish and it moves. I mean, that's done very well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I can't pick one. I mean, there's so many great effects artists, but I have to be a typical husband. You, honey.
I love you, but I've been in this industry to develop a thick skin, so it doesn't bother me when you say somebody else.
No, I love
so, I mean,
But yeah, that's what we've been talking about this week.
can I say mine?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Oh, okay, good. Well, I actually have 4.
18.
4.
I was about to say, like, I actually have 37.
4. Harry Houseman.
Ray Harryhausen?
Yes.
Okay.
He's the one that started off. I will also have to say, oh God, of course I draw a blank on his face.
I don't need his face, just his name. Nobody else is going to see this. What?
What? You're
Cheney.
miming.
Lon Chaney?
Yes.
Junior or senior?
Senior.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Junior only did it for a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay. But he's still a Lon Chaney. So.
Well, them because they started and they're the ones that really got me into it.
Right.
Stan Winston.
Winston. Yep.
Okay.
Love Pumpkinhead.
And I will actually have to say Savini and then V.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. What do you think is Savini's signature work?
His signature work?
Blood.
That would have to be all the Fridays that he did. That would be his signature. I mean, he did Maniac and all the other ones. He did Night of the Living Dead.
He did Prowler too, didn't he?
He did Prowler.
Yeah.
But I would have to say his signature work would be on that and on Creepshow.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean...
The creature under the stairs in Creepshow.
That was his favorite.
I'm
he did the
airing
cake
myself as
scene.
really liking puppets and animatronics.
He also did the cake scene where the head's on the silver platter and it comes out and it's all lit up.
I want my cake,
Yeah.
Adelia.
Yeah. Winston, of course, I attend the school. So, I mean, but even before I attended the school, he just blew me away. And it was just like, I have to do this.
Right.
And then, of course, watching Clash of the Titans and Jason and the Argonauts and Phantom of the Opera and Beetlejuice. It was
Most definitely.
destined to be.
CGI effect that did not translate well. The gold owl and
That was practical.
I know it didn't.
It didn't translate well, no.
But it was my favorite part.
Bobo.
Bubo.
Bubo? Which we only get a glimpse of in the remake.
Yeah, bastards.
Right.
He made the film.
I always loved the little stop motion effect they did of the figures whenever they were put into the
arena, and then all of a sudden it translated down to them. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
All right.
But thank you, anyways, for saying me.
I
loved popping out eyeballs for you and showering everything with blood.
Yes.
It's fun.
Just fun.
It's just another,
Yeah.
Hashtag
bonding
relationship
experience.
goals.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, okay, moving on to the end.
Dun,
That's
dun,
what this
dun.
is.
Take a fork in us.
We're done. So yeah,
I have one at home. It pops an eyeball out.
Nice.
I don't have the eyeball anymore.
no,
Oh.
the actress that had her eyeball popped out has the eyeball.
Yes. She still has
Still
it.
in a case on her shelf. I have a picture of Heather holding said eyeball over a boiling pot of water.
I'll take the picture.
Yeah, Paul took
I
the
did take the
picture.
picture.
It was fun.
So if you have any practical or CGI effects, give us a shout. You can do that by going over to our website, fearcentral.net, and over there is a link to every one of our social networks. So instead of me listing all of them, you can just go over there and pick which one you like.
Don't be lazy.
Yeah. Another thing you can do over there at our website is choose which service you'd like to subscribe to us to. And please do so with a rating and review, because we love hearing from y'all. But yeah, give us your favorite artist, give us your favorite CGI effect or practical effect, or your,
Even if it's a newer CGI artist or, effects artist, let us know.
School us, man.
yeah.
Bring it. Bring the blood and the body parts.
If you're one of the people from Face Off, call us. We'll
Please.
we'll set up an interview with you.
I think Katie needs
Yeah. So
Katie needs an FX fix.
yeah.
A bit.
But that's it. We got effects this week. I really wouldn't call it a versus. It was more of a
Yeah.
mesh.
Yeah.
I mean, that,
An appreciation of both.
Yes.
Yeah, in general, that is the case. Is there certain things that work better one way, certain things work better the other way.
Exactly. But that's what we got for you this week. Effects all the way around. We will see y'all again next week, hopefully. And as always,
Stay scared.
Fear Central is a product of Thoughtbox Studios. For more information, visit thoughtboxstudios.com.